So, I had to comment on this story. Um, Yesterday was the anniversary of the pullout of Afghanistan, or I'm gonna call it a retreat, because since it's a military pullout, then it would, in that case, in my mind, that would mean it's a retreat, not a pullout. Because a pullout would mean that it would be something where you're pulling stuff from a country that is not somebody you're currently at war with. It would be either but since we didn't do a peace treaty, it would be a retreat. So, the soldiers that died in that very, very horribly done retreat, who were essentially killed by the stupid decision to pull out the way that we did. And just as a reminder, who were the last two people in the room in that decision? Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. They quite literally said that they were the last two in the room, and that they were happy about that decision, that they felt strong about it. Then, guess what? It goes through, and many soldiers and innocent civilians were killed. Not to mention the weapons and ammo and stuff that we just left behind. And so, yeah, they were the last two in the room when they made that decision. But guess who the only person to show up to the memorial service for the fallen soldiers that came from their stupid decision? Donald J. Trump. He was the only one to show up. Neither Biden or Harris or even Walz showed up to the memorial service. But Trump shows up, and in fact, he helped carry the memorial wreaths over the spots where they're buried. So, while, again, Kamala and Biden were the last ones in the room when the decision to retreat was made, they were the last ones in the room when they decided to do a quick retreat. Essentially, when they decided to just have everybody turn tails and run. Instead of, what you do is, you do a methodical retreat. You have everybody that's further out retreat with the people that are closer to the spot where you're gonna retreat from laying down suppressing fire. And then once they get to that spot, they then lay down suppressing fire while the others run to the helicopters and airplanes and stuff. And you always leave people that are laying down suppressing fire. Or another way you could do it is just completely block off that area with mines. Neither one was done. But instead, they essentially were like, hey, just lay down your defenses and just run. And so that's what happened. And so there were many of them that were slaughtered because they did not retreat correctly. And another thing, what did they do in retaliation? Nothing. What they should have done is they should have immediately got on the phone and been like, hey, yo better, they should have immediately started being like, hey, we're gonna retaliate. And they should have immediately sent 20 bunker buster missiles straight to the buildings that the Taliban were using as headquarters. Because they could have easily gotten that info. Because the Taliban moved into the city. So all they would have had to do is figure out what buildings the Taliban were currently held up in, bunker buster missile them, and been like, okay, that's not as hard as we should have hit you, but we'll leave it at a couple bunker buster missiles at your 3 most active buildings. And they should have also demanded either return of the weapons that were left and stuff, or the equivalent price brand new in gold. And I believe that we should immediately ask for the equivalent price in gold as soon as we regain power. Let's hope that we get the right person in. But if Trump gets in, he should immediately demand the equivalent in gold. Be like, okay, here's the deal. You stole our stuff. We want the equivalent of that price brand new in gold. We'll give you exactly what it costs. But we're going to go with the price that it cost today, adjusting for inflation, being that supplies are going to cost more now. We're going to do what it would cost brand new now, as opposed to back then. So, here's the deal. This is how much it's going to cost. This is how much gold we demand. If you do not deliver, we will send a missile straight to your doorstep. That is exactly what we should do. We should be like, this is, for one, going to be retaliation for the death of the service members and civilians. And so essentially, you're like, hey, either give us the money or we'll do a retaliation now for you killing our service members and as many civilians as you killed. And so then they're gonna get, let's be frank, they're gonna get their butts soiled, because they're gonna be pissing their pants like, we don't know what to do. On one hand, he could just obliterate us, wipe us off the face of the earth. On the other hand, we could just try to come up with the amount of gold that they want. Whether they could even do it, who knows? But they will be pissing their pants because they'll be like, can we even do this? Or are we just going to have bunker busters knocking at our door in like 24 hours? Because if they flat out say, no, we won't do that, then the immediate response would be like, okay, well, here's 15 bunker busters coming straight to your doorstep. Expect them within 24 hours. Because we could quite literally obliterate the Taliban. We just send in surveillance, figure out what buildings they are using to hide out in, because they don't really need to hide, so they're not going to be really underground much, most likely. And so, as long as we don't give them much warning, then they're not going to go underground. And if they do, we just already have surveillance there. That way we can see, okay, this is exactly where they went. We're going to bunker buster that wide open until there's nothing left there. Just level that. And, you know, it's like, you take out their leadership, they're not going to have much stuff. Then you just send people in to bolster their economy and set up a strong leadership that will actually lead the country, who aren't terrorists, which is what we had actually tried to do. But it was just too hard while fighting the terrorists to do that, and it costs too much money. But if you know that you've taken out the terrorists, or at least the terrorist leaders, then you can just send in some soldiers and you can bolster up their economy. Essentially, while not giving out freebies, essentially you're like, hey, here's the deal. We'll set you up to where you have a good economy and you're running nice and you can be fully self-sufficient. You just pay us back over time. Just whenever you can, send another payment. Essentially, hey. Or, another way you can do it is, you can just have them be a military ally. And you can be like, hey, we've set you up to where you're self-sufficient, and you have a good military leadership and stuff. Just, if we ever end up needing help in a battle, send some people our way, and we'll do the same. Essentially, you scratch our back, we'll scratch yours. Which is quite literally the foundation of government. You've got to kind of massage the back of foreign leaders a little bit, and then they will do the same to you. Again, not literally, but figuratively. But I just had to jump in on this because for them to not even show up at all to the memorial on the anniversary day of their absolutely horrendous decision that killed service members of the U.S. military, and for them not to show up at all is absolutely disgraceful. And we cannot let them get back into power if they can't even show up for the people that they got killed. So this has been a little bit of a rant and my 2 cents on how it should have went down and and everything. Expect more videos soon. If there's anything that is definitely something that I will really feel passionate about, I will immediately hop on that. And if you want to go back and watch some of my other videos, that would be great. I have one about the Tim Walz stolen valor, and that whole situation. But I just had to pop in here and give my 2 cents. But anyways, have a good night, everybody. This has been Ben signing off.